Why hello, and welcome to Reviews in the Park by Nerd Park. Today, we are going to be reviewing Mad Max Fury Road.
Yes. Good film. I liked it.
Very good.
Oh, yes.
Best of the year so far?
Thus far, yes. I actually very much liked it more than Age of Ultron. Although we should say we have not seen any of the other Mad Max films.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're not
Yeah.
those people.
I tried to, but the end of the school year, it kind of caught up with me, and I didn't get to see them. But luckily, you didn't need to.
No, that was the beautiful thing, and I think it's been 30 years since the last movie, and he just basically, you don't have to, but I'm sure if you've watched the other three, there's a lot more you can probably get out of it than like what Zach and I did.
It's mostly Easter eggs, though.
Yeah, but yeah, him and I watched it and completely just jumped in, and really I took it in, and I was not confused. I wasn't lost at all. And I think we'll talk about this later, but I think that's one of the beauties of this film is they don't care about like catching you up. There's like, you better like what you're gonna see, like take it. I mean, this is gonna be a weird world. It's gonna be a fun world. It makes, really, if you dig deep into it, it's really crazy, but they're non-apologetic with what they do and what they invest in this movie. And we could talk about the story, which I think is one of the main reasons why the movie's so good.
Oh yeah, it's bugs already.
Summertime.
Yeah. The story is really simple, but in a good way. It's good simple, not bad simple. It's simple in the way of it's not overly complicated, it's not hard to understand, but it still keeps you entertained, it still keeps you at attention throughout the whole thing. It's really just great overall, which after 30 years, most of these remakes that take years to make, like the Dumb and Dumber sequel, and just so many of these things are getting sequels, and they aren't really adding up. Now, luckily, Men in Black 3 broke out of that, and this one does too. It's just a great post-apocalyptic, explosion-y, heartfelt amazingness romp.
I won't add much to that because Zach pretty much covered it, but yeah, it's a simple storyline, but if you really dig deep into it, there's a lot of subtext, a lot of great messages, and great character arcs.
I think it helps with the immersive world too, because right from the beginning, it's just desert. And like you don't have any choice but to just automatically accept this is my world now.
I think that was a cat.
There's cats in the park.
But yeah, story is great. Let's go into the acting. Tom Hardy replaced Mel Gibson in the role of Max. It's kind of an interesting character because he's maybe says 6 or 8 lines throughout the whole flick. Most of the time he's got his jaw shut, and he grunts a lot. Yeah. But he was great. It was kind of cool to see. I feel like actors nowadays need to get all the FaceTime and all the talking in. And his character, it's called Mad Max, but we're gonna go into this in a second. But I don't know if it's totally Max's movie. It's almost like he's our guide to the world, like he's the one anchor point. But I don't think it's entirely his movie.
No, it's really not.
But before we go into that character, just to round it up with Max, I mean, he's a tough, awesome, Clint Eastwood-like, old cinema-style hero.
Actions speak louder than words.
Yep. And I'll let you introduce who we were just talking about as who's probably the breakout.
Charlize Theron's Imperator Furiosa. She's just astonishingly good. Just ridiculously good. I actually read an article recently about a girl that was born without her arm from the elbow down. and how like Furiosa is just her like new hero, because like surely you've seen from the trailers, she's missing her arm from just below the elbow down,
She's got a robot arm and prosthetic.
and like she has no problem punching people with her, as I heard it put in that article, nubbin. She has no problem going to town on people with that. She doesn't need anyone's help. It's really like Ellen Ripley from Alien is probably the like we were discussing this earlier, closest thing to Furiosa. Honestly,
She's the new Ripley. That's what I mean. This generation's Ripley.
like honestly, they could come out like I know that they have like what they have 3 more Mad Max films that Hardy signed up for, 2 prequels and a sequel.
Yeah.
They could also come out with just a trilogy of Furiosa, all on her own,
Yeah.
and I would go and watch those every time.
Well,
It was refreshing to see a female hero.
Well,
like
yeah.
that.
I mean, and there was no love story. Thank goodness.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you would typical
Well, I mean,
Hollywood.
there kind of was, but it was.
I don't.
It's not the kind of love story that you want.
They were Max and Furiosa had a more respect.
I wasn't talking about them.
Oh. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
in terms of them,
Yeah.
I thought generally a generic Hollywood movie would be, or a producer would be like, we have to get him to kiss.
They'd be trying to like get them to make out 2/3 of the way through the movie.
And they
Never
don't.
happens.
And they never-
Spoilers, does not happen.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was really refreshing.
Yeah.
And yeah, nothing more could be said about. I mean, you just can keep going on and on about Charlize Theron's performance. There was also Immortan Joe, who, interestingly, with the trivia, was the main villain in the original Mad
Yep.
Max movie. It was kind of interesting.
Well, the guy that played
Not the
Immortan
same
Joe.
character.
Yeah, it wasn't the same guy.
Same actor though. He totally played a different character.
Yeah.
It was interesting because he wasn't just a typical bad guy. I understood why he was mad. We won't go into full details because we want you to go see the movie.
Yeah.
But like when he was angry, he had a legitimate reason for being angry.
And he emotes very well through that face mask.
Yeah, and it's very iconic. The character design all around the board. But Immortan Joe, I think, is going to just stick with, just with you, that imagery of him and his mask. It's very, very iconic. But then, and I'll let you talk about who I think has the biggest.
What was the joke
Oh,
that I read about him? Immortan Joe is like the bastard child of Sweet Tooth the Clown, Darth Vader, and I would actually argue Tom Hardy's Bane.
Yeah, that's true.
But for sure Sweet Tooth the Clown and Darth Vader.
Yeah.
But honestly, way more like he actually does more stuff than either one. So. So the next one is Nicholas Holt's Nux.
Biggest character arc in the whole story.
Oh, well, he's like the only one that develops
Yeah.
at all. And in a way, he's our view into the War Boys, and he's kind of our realization of what this world is, what this world has turned people into. And I love the effects on him. You never don't believe for. I forgot that was Nicholas Hoult for so long, and he's done great movies.
Most
but-
notably, he was Beast in the X-Men
Yeah.
Days of Future Past
And was
First
in
Class.
Warm Bodies.
And then Jack and the Beanstalk movie. I can't remember the name of it.
He was Jack the Giant Slayer.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was it. So
I really love just the little subtle notes on him, like how he had like parts of his lips pressed so that they looked like skull teeth, and it was just really interesting. And his character, enormous character arc. We can't talk about him too much without spoiling basically everything about him. Unfortunately, we wish we could, but we can't.
he puts a lot of silver on his face, though. Which
Well, that's the chrome worshipping war boys for Valhalla.
and now I think we're gonna talk about what I think makes the movie the most special is basically, this movie's been in development for years, and George Miller, the director, basically storyboarded the whole movie.
Oh yeah.
So it's basically like a comic book. And I think all those years really prepared him to make this probably the most wonderfully choreographed action / chase movie of all time.
Oh, definitely.
And it's all done practically, pretty much, which
Yeah.
is awesome. And again, the word I'm saying is refreshing. I think there's one word to describe this movie, it's refreshing.
Oh, for sure. They only use CGI when they really have to. Everything else is practical effects. If you haven't seen the 18 minutes behind the scenes footage, it's just explosions, explosions, explosions. All the car chases are actual 60-mile-an-hour car chases on vehicles that they built for this movie.
So awesome.
You know, is it just me or are practical effects starting to make a comeback?
I think they're realizing. I mean, we got Star Wars coming out with where J.J. Abrams is ditching the CGI aliens as much as possible and
Yep.
adding practical makeup
Guardians of the
artists.
Galaxy did the same thing.
Yeah, I think they're realizing that we're getting a little tired of the CG. Jurassic Park did it right. They only did it when it was absolute necessity, and when
And
they
it
could
holds
do a
up.
practical. Yeah, and that's why it holds up.
Yeah.
Because they only use CGI sparingly, and I think they're realizing that you got to do that, and it's so evident in this movie. And like I was just saying, Star Wars. I'm really hoping that this is the year that kind of wakes up Hollywood, and we might start seeing like the old movies style coming back.
Do you think it's also a financial thing? Like, do you think practical
I think that's why.
effects are cheaper?
I think that's why. I think CGI. Well, I don't know. It might be a toss-up. It might be a cool thing to investigate
Yeah.
because I feel like CGI is probably. I would on one hand think like, oh, they're just on the computer. You're just paying one or a couple people, or to.
Oh no, it's a whole team
Well,
of people.
but not maybe as much as like how the crew for this movie, Mad Max.
Oh, yeah.
But it's an interesting thing to ponder what's the cheaper way, going CGI or going practical.
Well,
So,
I mean, the practical effects you're paying like maybe 24 people, depending on how many people you have in makeup.
then you got,
But in
then you got
CGI,
insurance.
you're paying like in CGI you're paying a ton of people because you're paying like teams of like just dozens of people to do this.
Yeah. I'm gonna let you introduce this character because he's like your favorite,
Oh my!
and now
I
so
love
can
this guy.
introduce us into the music portion of this.
Doof Warrior. If you happen to watch this,
Google him.
you are so awesome. Just bouncing around on bungee cords with an electric guitar that shoots fire and just drummers behind you and giant speakers, and I love it so much. I can't entirely remember who he's played by.
Well, I know the music was done by the artist that's known as Junkie XL.
And I think that that's actually who plays Doof Warrior, because like all of the music is actually that guy playing guitar while riding through the desert.
Right.
And he's known as like the greatest guitarist in Australia. And just huge thumbs up to you, dude, because that character was probably one of the greatest. Like he's just right below Furiosa for me in like my favorite characters. Like I think I liked him more than Max because he's so entertaining.
Halloween costume.
Oh, if I was like a good like 70 pounds lighter and could play guitar.
And I think the music was, again, there's no lyrics or anything like that, and it was just a very classic movie score.
And it never got tiring.
And it kept going, and I think that music helped chug the time. I mean, it was, I think, a 2-hour movie, but it doesn't feel like it at all.
Well, I think that also helped that in all of the car chases, they always introduce something new. Just sometimes just a little tweak, but something new that would help keep it from getting stale.
Yeah.
And I think that that's years of prep,
Well,
probably.
Yeah, all those years, and like,
Yeah. And just George Miller's masterwork filmmaking.
in which you were talking to me about this, and I mean, a reason why Max barely speaks a word is that he's a really big fan of silent films, and even I read that he actually, on the Blu-ray release, he's hoping to release a black and white, no color version. So he's a very big fan of that, where basically you could just watch the movie on mute and know what's going on.
Exactly.
And yeah, I mean, really, we were trying to think about it a little bit ago. We can't think of anything negative about this movie.
I can't, like, maybe more Doof Warrior, but
Get his own movie. Well, yeah.
actually, he was supposed to have his own comic book.
Once if he did a concert, would you go?
Yeah, I'd go. I would totally go. Just having like bungee cord like over the audience. I'll
With the flamethrower.
Oh no! Well, you can't aim it at the audience. But,
You can go above their head.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it can be done.
Everybody just walks out with bald patches.
Yeah,
It'd be kind of amazing.
yeah.
But yeah, like no negatives for me in this. I was surprised that the slow moments still felt fast. The fast moments never got exhausting. They never got boring. Everything about this thing was just terrific.
Yeah. I mean, nothing that
Yeah.
we just highly recommend it. I'll let you do the honors with our unanimous.
Oh, I was
Review.
gonna let you do it.
Oh, me? I'm
Yeah.
gonna mess up the name of this thing though.
Then I guess that the burden will fall upon me. We give this movie 9.5 out of 10 gallons of gasoline.
Yep. So yeah, we highly recommend it. It's going to be a hard one to top this year from any of the rest of the movies. And it's also was nice to see an adult R-rated, non-apologetic action film. And,
Oh, yeah.
And that's pretty much what we can say about this movie.
And there were some like really like hardcore things in this that like most films would probably like get in trouble for, but this one, nope, because they expect it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can check us out on SoundCloud. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr. You can email us at nerdparkpodcast@gmail.com. What's that again?
Oh, that is our Superpower
yeah.
Showdown podcast. I know that we've been talking about it coming up. Unfortunately, schedules got in the way, but we are going to be recording up here in actually 2 days. We're going to be recording the first 2 episodes of it. The first episode of it will be the Scott Lang Ant-Man versus the Bruce Wayne Batman.
That'll be a pretty epic fight, I would think.
I definitely think it will be. Tune in and we'll let you know all the rules and how we go about these things. And feel free to suggest your own on our Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, email us, any of that stuff.
Cool. Well, until then, you stay nerdy, my friends, and we'll see you later.
Oh yeah.